afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. For the second year in a row, the state of Vermont is enabling the University of Vermont to provide free educational opportunities to eligible residents. The Upskill Vermont program is for those who are seeking to build new skills to advance or change their career. The free educational opportunities include non-credit certificate programs and courses that earn college credits. The idea behind Upskill is to help Vermonters compete successfully in today's job market. The Upskill program is coordinated by the university's Professional and Continuing Education Division. And to learn more, I am joined by Greg Dunkling. Greg is the director of the UVM Business of Craft Beer program, which is offered by Continuing Education and is one of the professional certificate programs available through Upskill Vermont. Greg, welcome to the program and thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So you launched the UVM Business of Craft Beer program in 2015, and you focus on the business side, not the brewing side of the industry. Why was there such a need for this program?
Well, it probably goes back 10 years ago when we were doing market research and talking to a lot of people in the industry. We all expected this sector to grow dramatically, and indeed it has. Our concern was that people would open breweries without sufficient background in the business side of the industry. Having a passion for craft beer isn't really sufficient to operating a brewery of any size. So that's why we set out to establish kind of a business school for brewery startups.
Okay, and so who are the typical participants in your program?
Yeah, there are really three categories. Individuals who have a dream of one day opening their own brewery, those who seek employment in the industry, applying back experience in marketing, sales, or operations typically. There are also beer industry professionals who are looking to expand their knowledge of their industry.
Terrific. And how severely was the craft beer industry impacted over the last couple of years? And did the pandemic impact the demand for your program?
Our program actually became more vibrant during the first year of the pandemic. I think people were maybe a bit bored with just doing work day in and day out. So they took their dream of starting a business and applied it to study in our program. There's not a one-size-fits-all explanation for how COVID impacted breweries nationally. This varied considerably. Many breweries, particularly those that relied on taproom sales, were particularly hard hit. Fortunately, many adjusted and moved to canning and selling direct to consumers. Sales were off, and they were due to a closure of restaurants where a lot of beer was sold. Revenue was impacted. But nevertheless, the community support was strong almost across the country, and it kept the breweries afloat. And I should add that it's not all a downer picture here. There are a number of breweries that did also very well. Several breweries in Vermont grew dramatically over the last couple of years.
So interesting. And your participants, that was steady, and they're even from abroad, not necessarily in the United States, because you probably have a very good online education program.
That's right. It was designed as an online program, so people are not required to come to Vermont, don't have to come for any of the courses. So we do serve a national, in some cases, international audience.
That's great. So you have a few slides to help detail UVM's program. Walk us through that.
Sure. As mentioned, these are online courses. All of the instructors, there are 16 in total, that are industry experts and work either in breweries or as consultants to the industry. So people are gaining real knowledge from people who have been in this industry for many years. People get to select the courses that they want to take. There are 5 in total. You have to pick 3 or complete 3 to earn the certificate, although many select all 5. And then you develop quite a network of people. We have guest speakers every week. So add to the 16 another, probably 40 people that you're going to come in contact with who are working in breweries through participation in our program.
And you have, here's the next slide.
Yeah. And so we do have some relationships with other groups, Cicerone in particular, certification. Many breweries require people who work behind the bar to, or even in sales and marketing, to become Cicerone certified. And there's a program, national program that we've teamed up with to offer that component.
That's the Cicerone?
That's
name?
correct,
Okay.
Cicerone, yeah. And then we have the option of a capstone project, which is basically putting together a business plan or part of a business plan to be reviewed by our instructor team. So if your pursuit is to open a brewery, then that's often a great option.
Terrific. And this last slide is really kind of how it works.
Yeah, exactly. 8 weeks in length, picking 3 courses for the certificate. People have to expect 6 to 8 hours, sometimes on the high end of that per week for study, which involves a lot of reading, some writing, project work, interacting with other students and with our instructors. And then we have live sessions in the evenings, usually 7 p.m. One night a week.
Terrific. And as I mentioned in the introduction, the Upskill Vermont program is back for another year. Eligible Vermonters can take up to 2 free courses through the program. What courses can Vermonters take in your Business of Craft Beer program for Upskill?
The courses have to be completed by January 1. So that means 3 courses that we have scheduled for the fall. They're a marketing and branding course, finance, business finance, focused on the breweries, of course, and then we have business operations. So they staggered the dates over the course of the fall, but those are the 3 courses that are available for funding through Upskill.
Terrific. And some of these courses are of course, starting very quickly,
Yes.
very soon. So let's just to be sure, while we're talking about Upskill, let's talk about eligibility for Upskill Vermont programs. There are new requirements from the state this year. What are those basic requirements to be eligible to participate in these free courses?
Yeah, well, one is you have to, the criteria is really 3 categories. You have to meet just one of those. One is an income, 300% of family income of at or below the federal poverty guidelines. For many people, though, if you're unemployed or underemployed, and that's a fairly broad category, people can fairly easily identify themselves perhaps as being underemployed. And if you're seeking a transition to another job and a better opportunity for yourself. So as you can see, people can, this probably covers a lot of people who might be watching, listening today. You contact our office and have a conversation, but we can certainly walk you through what's required.
Okay, and many craft beer fans and casual observers comment on the number of breweries, of course, in Vermont. It's very popular. The market, is it becoming saturated at this point? I mean, can we expect to see a good future for this sector, and are there jobs there?
Yeah, I hear the term saturated often in conversations with people. It's a bit of a loaded term. We never hear the term saturated used in describing the quality of restaurants in our community or our state, yet it becomes a concern for local breweries. And probably it's due to the rapid growth of the industry from under 3,000 breweries when we started this program 8 years ago to closing in on 10,000 breweries today. An analysis by the Brewers Association done a few years back indicated that a community of 10,000 people could sustain a well-run brewery. And using that calculation, there are many communities that still don't have a brewery or can support additional breweries. That said, there are some locations where competition is stiff, and this term saturation might be more accurately applied. The goal is to differentiate both your product and your experience, and if it's done well, local breweries will flourish.
And that's exactly what you're teaching in a way. So there are those jobs there. So if you're interested in marketing or accounting or some other business aspect, people could pick and choose what they really want to learn.
Yeah, that's right. And it depends on where you want to live. There are a limited number of breweries in some states.
Mm.
So you might have to, if you really want to pursue a career in this industry, you might have to move to a location where there are more opportunities. But that said, the industry grew even during COVID. There were more closures, but at the same time, there were more openings than closures. That gap got smaller during the last 2 years, but nevertheless, when you think about all the restaurants and other hospitality sectors that were hit hard by COVID, breweries really stood up pretty well.
That's great. So are you finding you're getting contributions from alumni from your craft beer business program who have started their own breweries?
We have some people who are now involved with our program, supporting it. For example, one of the early students is now the executive director for the Wyoming Brewers Guild, and she started out working for a brewery in California part-time, and now continues to work with our program. We have other graduates who play similar roles. They're really support to the instructors and to the students. So they're involved in each course. And then of course, we have many graduates of our program that have started breweries in different locations around the U.S. and in some cases outside of the U.S.
Wonderful. Sounds like such a great program. And before we go, I want to make sure we highlight two important websites. For information on the Upskill Vermont program, check the website at upskillvermont.org. And for information about offerings from the UVM Professional and Continuing Education Division, go to learn.uvm.edu. Greg, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck with your program.
Hey, thanks so much. Appreciate the opportunity.
And thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.